Hello and welcome to the orientation for how to take an online class, College Skills 334. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to working with you over the next 3 weeks. My name is Pamela Abbott Enns, and I've been teaching at the junior college for the better part of 15 years. Prior to teaching at the JC, I was at a business college in Santa Rosa, and I did my master's work and my undergraduate work both in writing and communications with a specialty in how to teach adults. I am particularly excited about the idea of online education because I do believe that most of the ways that we can communicate with each other outside of the classroom have been limited up till now, and those folk that take an online course do so for lots of different reasons, and oftentimes an online class is the perfect solution for someone who is particularly shy or who is particularly busy or someone who just simply doesn't like to come onto campus. So welcome, welcome, welcome. You will find that the course itself is designed to be pretty darn straightforward. My philosophy of teaching you how to take an online class is to actually have you do all sorts of activities and learn skills that will directly apply to just about every online environment that you are going to encounter. So, why are you here? For the most part, you are preparing to take some sort of an online class, but I have lots of students who simply hear about online education and want to learn more about how it all works. Well, we're going to expose you a little bit to the philosophy, but primarily what this class will do is give you the understanding of the practical tools and skills of working with the software that you're going to be required to use and that instructors use in very unique and innovative ways. You'll find that lots of instructors are now trying to utilize the online learning environment, not necessarily as a substitute for a face-to-face class, but a way to list the syllabus and to give students the opportunity to access handouts without making thousands and thousands of copies every semester. And a lot of us are now using the learning management software as a way for us to give you access to the grade book throughout the semester. When you take a class, we enter your grades into a space that can only be seen by you, and you have the opportunity to see what you're doing, track what you're doing, know what you're missing, and it makes you more aware and a little more accountable. So learning how to do that in itself is kind of exciting and interesting. Now, some of you are just entering the world of college. Some of you are re-entering college, and you're finding that you want to have this in your toolbox. And I encourage everybody to take this class. I think it should be one of these that's required for everybody. So I'm pleased that you're here. Now, are you ready to take an online class? There's a lot of the fear of the unknown around what mysteries lie behind the approach of an online class. Is it harder? Is it easier? The answer is yes. There are some online classes that, from my point of view as a teacher, are probably 5 times more difficult than a face-to-face class. On the other hand, there are classes that are perfectly suited, in my opinion, for the online environment that allow folk from all over to be able to have access to materials that they might not otherwise have access to. What is important for you to understand before you even dive into this class is that online doesn't mean solo learning. It doesn't necessarily mean self-paced learning. What it means is remote learning. Now, in some cases, like with this class, it's going to be critical for you to manage your time. and set time aside, because unlike other online instructors, I do not require that you spend a particular amount of time or a chunk of time during the day or make appointments to be online altogether as a class. Some instructors do. But because you have that autonomy and conceivably can work in your pajamas at 3 o'clock in the morning, you need to make sure that you build time into your life in a way that's going to work for you, and make sure that you're not trying to cram everything in before a midnight deadline when you realize it's 10 o'clock at night and you haven't done the work. That doesn't help you learn, and it certainly causes you a lot of stress. So take a look at your study habits. Take a look at how well you are in terms of self-regulating your time and your time management. Look at the classes that you're taking. If you're enrolling in an online class because you have no other time to take the class that you absolutely have to take, be aware that a 3-unit online class is going to take as much, if not more, time, because you're not just going to class for 3 hours and sitting and listening. You're probably going to be reading and doing activities and a lot more than perhaps you might have bargained for. So just be aware of that. And finally, do you have a good place to work? If you're going to be doing an online class and you're going to come to campus, most of our computer labs are set up in a way that you'll be able to be comfortable. But if you are going to be working from home, please make sure to take care of your body. I recommend that you have a workspace that's comfortable for you, that you not work for more than an hour at a time, because it can really mess with your shoulders and your hands and your neck and your back, and to make sure that you take breaks in between every 15 minutes or so. I have lots of students who set a timer 15 minutes just to take their hands off of the keyboard, stretch their necks, give their body just a little bit of breathing space, and then go back to it. So those are some things that I want you to consider. Now, in terms of what are we going to be doing for the next 3 weeks, I really do want you to relax and enjoy the ride. I see this online course very much like a driver's ed course. Once you learn how to drive, you know that a brake pedal in a Lamborghini works the same, well, hopefully a little bit better, than the brake pedal in your 40-year-old Volkswagen. But a brake is a brake, a clutch is a clutch, and a steering wheel is a steering wheel. You understand the principles behind these things, even if they're called something different. So think about if you're working with Firefox versus Explorer as your internet search engines. Sometimes you'll be able to mark a page, and you'll have to remember, in one software it's called a bookmark, in another software it's called, what is it called? It's called a favorite. So there's lots of same things called differently, and they have to be called differently because they're trademarked. It's not really designed to frustrate you, but things are called different things. They all do the same thing. So we're going to be looking at principles that apply to any LMS, that's a learning management software that you come across. In my 15 years of online education, there have been at least 12 different learning management softwares that we have worked with. Right now at Santa Rosa Junior College, we are working with Kate, which you've used to register for classes, and if you've completed the check-in process, and if you found the link to this orientation, you've probably gone into the Kate software. The other software that we use at Santa Rosa Junior College is called Moodle. And Moodle is just one more kind of learning software. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the histories of those when we get further into the class. We do have a couple of road rules, though, for class, and it's really important that you understand how the class is laid out. Each week, you will have 5 content areas to learn. You'll have some readings, you'll take a quiz that correlates to each of those readings, and you'll complete an activity, an exercise for each of those 5 activities. So that means that each week you will be completing 10 activities or quizzes, each correlated to one of 5 content areas. Over the course of 3 weeks, you will have done 15 of these. If you do all the reading, all the activities that I ask you to do, and just do that, most students can complete the work within 3 to 5 hours a week. Honestly, I've had some students complete all 15 activities within the first 6 hours because they're really already quite proficient. I also have students that are taking more than 5 hours a week. If you are taking more than 7 hours a week to complete all of the activities for any given week, you are doing too much, or you are struggling in a way that you need to bring it to my attention so that we can figure out what's going on. Class officially starts on Monday and ends on Monday each midnight. So you have all of the week to complete your work whenever it is that you want to complete that work, starting Monday and ending Monday. Monday night at midnight is your cutoff date to submit everything for the week prior. I do not accept late work. So you need to get in there and get that done each week. Again, when you do the work is up to you within the scope of that week. If you choose to, you certainly may work ahead for the first 2 weeks while we are in the CATE software. I'm not going to open week 3 and in the Moodle software until we start the 3rd week of class, because I've had some students who jump in and try to do Moodle first and forget about the first 2 weeks and then are surprised. So as a way for me to try to help corral everybody into the right spot, I'm not going to open Moodle until week 3, so it won't show up. So please don't ask me if you can work ahead into week 3. However, you certainly can work ahead for the first 2 weeks. Having said that, in weeks 1 and 2, you will find that there are, again, quizzes and exercises correlated to each activity. You may take the quizzes as many times as you like to get the perfect score. And when I go in to do the grading, I'll make sure that you get the highest score that you've possibly earned. You may only do the exercises once. I hand grade all of those exercises on the Tuesday after they are due. And if you have had a real problem, I will contact you and we will figure out what it is that's gone wrong. Now, if you are taking the quizzes and you find that the scores are not being recorded in the gradebook or there is something going on, it is your obligation to let me know. And I'm going to show you how to do that momentarily. So now I'm going to try something here and go from one piece of software to another as I take you for a peek in to how the JC system. This semester, Santa Rosa Junior College has decided to introduce a brand new learning management software called Canvas. And so we will have actually 3 different online learning softwares running this semester. Many instructors are still going to be working with the original CATE software,
that we've had here at the JC for 10 years. Some instructors are working with a software called Moodle, and Moodle is what we call an open source software that is utilized by mostly the California state universities and the UCs. And now there's a new software that we are starting to utilize across all California community colleges, and it's called Canvas. And this semester, I've been asked to work with you as students who are going to be taking online classes now in the immediate future to understand how Canvas works, because at the end of the spring 2016 semester, the other two softwares will be phased out. So, having said that, you may find yourself in an experience this semester where you're looking at Canvas, you may be looking at Moodle, you may be looking at Kate, and I don't want you to be surprised. But we're going to be looking at Canvas for the next 3 weeks, and most of it, again, it's going to look different, but the principles are the same. Now, when you registered for class, you came to a page that looks very much like this. And there are lots of different ways that you can get to your online classes. And I want to show you a couple of them. Some of you have already sorted this out, but the new and most, I think, streamlined way is for you to click on admissions. Is it admissions? No, it's academics. And go to the schedule of classes. Well, you already know what your schedule of classes is. I'm going to come down to spring 2016. I'm going to click on college skills. And you can tell me if this sort of looks familiar. Here's college skills 334. Now, if you'll notice, this screen looks very much like the screen that you get when you pull up your registration confirmation. And so, since I can't get to those for each of you individually, I'm using this as the visual cue for you. I'd like you to please take a look where the section is highlighted. Most recently, I've been informed that the online services department has gone through and created this nifty new software where if in your schedule page you just click on the link for your section number, this will appear and you'll see your confirmation. And if you click on available, you will be directed to the login page for Canvas. Now, that's kind of a nifty little shortcut, and I like that. From here, you'll use your student ID and your PIN and be able to go straight into the online software that'll have a list of your classes. Now, let's see if I can do this. If I close that window, go back to here. If you can't find your schedule of classes going this way, you'll also notice, let's get there. Schedule of classes, you can click here. I'll take you to the same place that we just were. Now, another way to do this is to go to online learning. Now, if you click on online learning, this is going to direct you to a page that I'm actually going to refer back to quite a bit. It's the portal for lots of information for you, and you'll actually have a couple of lessons on how to utilize this page. But I'd like you to see that here you can click directly into Canvas. If your instructor has set the class up in Canvas, that's where it'll be. If you click on Kate, it'll take you to the Kate homepage that looks like that, where you log in through here with your section number, your PIN, and your ID. Now let me go back. Oh, I went back too far. Let me close that and come back here. Back to the distance education page. If your classes are being offered in Moodle, you'll click on the Moodle and enter your student ID and password. Now, I know that this is confusing for right now. It will be much more streamlined in the future. So, if you'll take a look here, I know that you are presently enrolled in How to Take an Online Class. But if you really want to find out more about how to work with Kate or Moodle, this is the place to go. Student Help for Kate will take you to an online, I guess I'd call it an online textbook that can walk you through and answer a lot of your questions. In the same way, Student Help for Moodle will take you to the corporate site for Moodle, where they have little learning modules that can answer specific questions. Okay, so for the purposes of this class, we're going to click on Canvas. Now, mine looks a little bit different than yours, but in general, it's all going to seem pretty straightforward. I'm just going to enter my information here. Now you'll notice my ID is a protected number. It's not my social security number, it's my student ID. And that's sort of public knowledge. It's on your cards and everything. So you don't necessarily have to protect that. That's why I don't protect it. But you'll see your PIN is protected visually. So you need to make sure that you remember what your PIN is and that you type it in correctly. If the caps lock on your keyboard is on, or if your fingers are one digit off, or any number of data entry issues can really start frustrating you because you may not be able to see what you're doing wrong. So take the time, make sure that you've entered it in correctly. Now, when you click login, for me, I'm going to have my computer save my password because I'm the only one that uses this computer. Now you're going to come to a dashboard and it's going to list all of your classes. Now, for the purposes of today, I'm going to select, let's go with, I happen to be teaching three sections of this. This is kind of what it's going to look like when you log in, okay? This is our class. And this is what Canvas looks like. Now you'll notice on the left-hand side there's a dashboard and courses and calendar. These are all nifty little tools that we're going to take a look at. The dashboard is where your classes are listed, and you can decide whether you want to list by, let's see if it'll come over here, by what's due and what you need to do this week, or by your classes. If you come to courses, you'll see that there's also a list. Now, again, for the purposes of this class, I'm going to start with 8619 because that's the most recent class that I'm going to be doing. You'll see photographs, you'll see the title of your class, you'll confirm that you have the correct section number, and I am going to just scroll down here. There are some things that you won't see, but this is what it's going to look like. You're going to see how to take an online class, start date, end date. That's me. And my name, my online office hours. I don't teach on campus at all, but I do answer emails Tuesday through Thursday, and it takes me about 24 hours to get back to you, but you can email to me at my instructor email address. You can also utilize the help area, which is actually much more convenient for me, and I would prefer that you use that. So I'll talk to you about that in a moment. The other option that I have during the week is if you would really like to have some real time, immediate conversation with me, we can make an appointment where we meet live time in the chat room, much like it would be texting back and forth with your phones. And so we can do that as long as we make a date to both arrive in the chat room at the same time. And you'll see a little description here. This is not a substitute for, but it's the same material as in your orientation, your syllabus. You'll see the course objectives, the content, what we're going to be looking at, basic hardware, basic software, how to understand the internet. Next week, we'll look at how courses are organized and how can you insert your picture and personalize your profile. What kind of communication tools do we need? And making the software work. And in week 3, we'll talk about how to use the gradebook. What are some of the best practices for taking an online class? How can you be the most effective student possible? We won't see each other unless you come to orientation the first night of class. And once you've listened to this video, you can kind of jump in and get started. Now, if you scroll back up where you see up here, you'll see modules. Okay, so I'm just going to go through this little page here. You've got your home page. This is where we are. Your syllabus. This is the contract between you and me, has my email, has all of the information that you might need to reach me. Announcements, you won't see too many announcements from me. Some instructors use the announcements page as a place for you to get updated information. Sometimes the college will send announcements. The most important for me right now is for you to look at modules. And you'll see that both Moodle and Canvas are set up a lot like your hard drive, where you have to go in and open files. Now in this case, meet your instructor. You're going to open it up, and here I am. This is my little biography. Okay, so we'll click the back button, go back to our list of modules. Getting started. This is a little primer for you that is put up by the college, and I encourage you to look at it. You'll find this one in most online classes, unless the instructor has manually gone in and removed it. Support for learning online. If you click there, you'll see links to take you to Canvas support and whether you need to, if you want to access tutoring. And you'll notice I'm using the back button a lot. You don't have to. You can click back to modules if you like to. This is where the class really starts for me. Module 1 overview. And if we open up the software, open it up, you'll see lots of reading, right? Well, that's kind of what it's going to look like. Each week, you're going to be addressing 5 content areas, and in each of these content areas, you are going to see lecture, and then you are going to see links. Now, these links are going to take you to a required activity. So, this first one will be an online readiness survey. If I click here, it takes you to a little exercise where you can see, am I really ready for this? Where are you going to be working? What operating system are you running? How are you connecting to the system? How fast is your system? These are things that you might need to know. And if you don't know what these things are, you'll notice that there's a link. click on what you need to know so that it will show you how to find out that information. So let's go back to the module here. You'll see that there are some links to some videos. I do want you to read and watch each of these videos. Once you're done there, you can click on Next, and you will see that you have, oh my goodness, an assignment already. This is an introduction. This is how to check in and say hello, and you are going to post by clicking reply. You're going to enter in, oh, gotta scroll down, just like you would an email message. Post your reply. If you want to, you can use the video recorder. You can play around with this. Now, I want you to remember that as we're doing this, I'm kind of asking you to fly blind. There is no way you can break this system. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I want you to spend some time fumbling around, because sometimes fumbling around is actually kind of fun if you let it be. If you don't feel brave enough to fumble around right now, just type in your introduction and hit post, okay? If we're done with that, we go to the next thing, and oh, here we go, our first lecture. We're going to look at hardware and software. And you'll see there's a lecture. Lecture, 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 lecture. Additionally, you will see additional resources. Go through each of these links. They are useful. However, stop at this link. Don't use the links to go more and more and more, or else you will get sucked into the internet and it will be difficult for you to find your way back out again. So take a look at the material. It's interesting and it will be useful to you. Once you have completed the reading and looked at the activities, you will be asked to do a basic quiz, okay? The quiz will come up, basic hardware. You'll be asked you'll say, take the quiz. You'll click on the quiz. You'll fill in your answer. And once you've done that, you will submit your quiz, and I will grade it for you next week. Okay, so I'm going to come back to modules here. Yes, I do want to move there. Okay, and you will see that there is a lecture followed by a quiz, followed by a lecture and some practice, followed by a quiz. Another bit of lecture, another bit of quiz. There are 5 content areas each week. There are 5 graded activities each week. You can take your schedule and make the content work for you. I don't suggest that you sit down and do it all in one day, because you won't retain the information. But you do have from Monday to Monday to complete all the work for this course. So week 1, all the quizzes need to be completed by midnight next Monday night. On Tuesday, I sit down and grade everything. Oh my gosh, what if you don't get the work turned in? Well, if you don't get the work turned in by Monday at midnight and it doesn't get into my grading system by Tuesday, you may submit it late, but it won't be graded until the following Tuesday. Okay? So let's just scroll down here and you can see week 2 has lecture, lecture, activity, lecture, lecture, quiz, lecture, lecture, activity, etc. Week 3 has your quizzes, your discussions, your activities. There is no final exam. Once you are done with the discussion number 3, wrapping things up, you are finished. And all you need to do is check back to see what your grades are. It usually takes me a week to finish that final calculation of your final grades, and I get it posted for you as quickly as I can. And that is how our class is organized. Now, if you have additional questions, one of the best places to go is to discussions. And you will see Ask Professor Pam. This is where I check every day. I actually check Ask Professor Pam more frequently than I do my own email. I encourage you to post your questions there. And I also encourage you to look to see if you have a question. Maybe someone else has already asked that question and I've answered it. Maybe someone else has asked a question and another student has answered it. Maybe you've had the question, you've answered it for yourself, and you can be collegial and help another classmate. I encourage you to do that. So, having said all of that, your grades will be in the... If I click on grades, this is what should appear for you. You'll see grades for, and in this case, test student. But you'll see a list of every assignment that you have for the semester, the possible score, the due date, and the score that you've earned. Now, some instructors will default to a 0 if you have no work submitted. Other instructors, like myself, will only give you a 0 if you earned a 0 after I have graded your work, or if you haven't submitted anything by the due date. So that how this is formatted sort of depends on your instructor, but you'll see that at this moment, my test student has submitted no work. Now, I have no rational explanation for why all of these assignments are due by May 9th, but they're not in order. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but that seems to be the default for this. So don't expect things necessarily to go in order, and sometimes don't expect them to make sense, because it is a software that is only as good as we put into it. So be patient, and if you see issues like that, understand that in the big picture, they're probably not enough to get stressed out about, okay? So there's your grade book. I suggest that you make a point of checking that on a regular basis. And the last thing that I am going to suggest to you, in order to save yourself some time and energy, is however it is that you are going to find your class. I'm clicking here because it's going to take us back to our home page. Theoretically. Here we go. Whether you are using a Mac or a PC or Explorer or Linux or whatever other system you are using, get familiar enough to be able to make this the place that you go to, so you don't have to continually go through the SRJC site. You can bookmark this page. you can make this page a favorite. Now you'll still have to log in each time. It'll default to the Canvas login screen, but it will make this a one-click experience for you rather than having to utilize lots of different login schemes. Okay, my friends, that is the end of orientation. I appreciate you listening, and I'm excited to see each of you online. When you post your introductions, it'll be the first time that I've had the opportunity to learn about any of you. So do me a favor and tell me a little bit about yourselves, not just what you're taking and why you're taking this class. Share something fun about yourself. I will share my fun thing with you right now. In addition to teaching at Santa Rosa JC, I also teach at Sonoma State, and I am also the resident costume designer for the Spreckles Performing Arts Center in Rohnert Park. So there's a fun, trivial bit of information about myself. I look forward to meeting each of you, and I hope you have a great semester.